We are on Learning Target 10, Solving Literal Equations. So first of all, what is a literal equation? A literal equation is just an equation with more than one variable. A really popular example of a literal equation is y equals mx plus b. You may recognize that if you worked with graphing lines last year. So first of all, isolating a variable. That's what we're going to be learning today, is isolating a variable when there's more than one variable involved in the equation. So in order to organize your work, step one isn't essential, but I think it's a good way to visually remind yourself what exactly it is you're doing. When there's more than one variable involved, it might get kind of confusing as to what it is you're trying to solve for. So I recommend starting by circling the variable that you want to isolate or solve for. So when we look at our first question, it says solve 3x plus 2y equals 6 for y. That means we're trying to get y alone, not x. So I'm going to start by circling my y. And then we are going to solve just like normal. So the rest of the steps that you see should look very familiar. We're going to use order of operations backwards to determine which operation we need to cancel first. Alright, so if I knew what y was, and I substituted it in, order of operations would tell me first to multiply by 2. After I multiply by 2, I would add the 3x. So notice we've got a variable involved in our steps this time. So in order to solve for y, we need to use order of operations backwards and start by canceling the positive 3x by subtracting it from both sides. Alright, on the left-hand side, cancels, leaving me with 2y. I'm going to keep my variable circled. On the right-hand side, 6 minus 3x. Those are not like terms. Our 6 is just a regular plain old 6, and our negative 3x has a variable. So 6 minus 3x, that's all we can do there. Sorry, and then step 3 is use the golden rule to cancel. And of course, our step 4, repeat until our variable's alone. So we used the golden rule when we subtracted 3x from both sides. I'm going to go back over to my work in the left-hand column, and I'm going to continue working backwards to cancel. To cancel multiplication by 2, I will divide by 2. So I'm going to divide both sides by 2. Now be careful here, I need to divide the entire right-hand side by 2. We're going to be using the butterfly method to simplify that one, but don't just divide a single term, divide the entire side. The golden rule says that whatever you do to one side of an equation, you do to the other side, okay? So on the left side, the reason we divided by 2 was to cancel, leaving us with our variable. Once we have our variable alone, we can uncircle it. And as I mentioned, on the right-hand side, we're going to go ahead and use the butterfly method to simplify. 6 divided by 2 gives us 3. Negative 3x divided by 2. 2 doesn't go into 3 evenly. Typically, especially since this is the equation of a line, we're going to start to see some more of this next unit. I would go ahead and pull the 3 halves as a coefficient and leave the x kind of off to the side as opposed to in the numerator. All right, let's look at a couple more. This is all that we're doing, so these steps are the same. We're just going to practice. I know that this is a challenging unit or a challenging topic, so I threw a lot of questions on this topic in this video so that you can just see it over and over and hopefully it'll start to make some sense. All right, step 1, circle the variable we're looking for. Solve a equals 1/2 bh for b. So I'm going to start by circling my b. All right, use order of operations backwards to determine which operation to cancel. If I knew what b was, order of operations would tell me to multiply everything together. And because we can multiply in any order, we can actually write our steps in any order. But let's keep it left to right, just because that's how we read. So first, I would multiply by 1/2, and then I would multiply by h. So I'm going to cancel backwards by dividing by h. Okay? So dividing both sides of the equal sign by h. Now, I'm going to take a look at the right-hand side first. Why did I divide by h? To cancel my h. So I'm left with 1/2 b. b is still a variable I'm trying to isolate. A and h sure aren't like terms, so I'm just going to leave it as a divided by h. All right, continuing to work backwards, I would divide by half, but remember our dividing rule for fractions. Multiply by the reciprocal, or copy, dot, flip. And that gives us we've already got a complicated problem with all these variables and these fraction bars. Multiplying by 2 gives us a much simpler way to cancel that multiplying by half. So I'm going to multiply both sides of the equal sign by 2. On the right hand side, I already canceled them out, leaving me with b. Now on the left hand side, notice how that I have 2 times a over h. I do not have 2 times h. So this is 2a divided by h. If you multiply the numerator and the denominator by h, you're essentially multiplying by 2 over 2, which is not 2, it is 1. So that is incorrect. Don't do that.